Wednesday's hearing focused on a recent Environmental Protection Agency draft report that linked contaminated water supplies in Wyoming to chemicals used in hydraulic fracturing. While a lobbyist from the Western Energy Alliance testified at Wednesday's hearing, no local residents impacted by the water contamination were invited to speak.
Joining us now from Washington, D.C. is filmmaker Josh Fox. With us also via Democracy Now! Video stream is John Fenton, who is a Wyoming farmer and chair of the Pavilion Area Concerned Citizens. Josh, it's good to have you out of jail. Explain exactly why you were in that hearing yesterday and what happened as we listened to the debate between the Democrats and the Republicans as you were being handcuffed by police and taken out of the room.
Good morning, Amy and Juan, and certainly hi to John Fenton. Nice to see you. Basically, I was there to report on a story that I've been following very closely for 3.5 years. John and his fellow people from Pavilion, I've been documenting their cases of water contamination for 3 years, and it's featured in the first film, Gasland. We continue to feature that in Gasland, too. So this was a crucial hearing for us to tape, because what was going on there was a clear and brazen attack on the E.P.A. and on the meticulous 3.5-year investigation that took place in the small town of Pavilion, Wyoming, to expose a link between fracking and groundwater contamination. And this is the first case in which E.P.A. has come out and said, at least in this last 10 years, that the likely cause of groundwater contamination was fracking. And what was apparent to us was that this was going to be an attack on science from within the Science and Technology Committee, that they had a panel that was stuffed with gas industry lobbyists, that there was this was actually a way of trying to dismantle this EPA report. We wanted to be there to show that that was what the agenda was. We wanted to report on what happened. I was not interested in disrupting that hearing. It was not a protest action. I was simply trying to do my job as a journalist and go in there and show to the American people what was transpiring in that hearing, so that down the line, because we know there will be a lot of challenges mounted to that EPA report and, frankly, to the people in Pavilion who have been sticking up for themselves and demanding an investigation into the groundwater contamination, and to make sure that people could view that in a larger form than usually happens.
And Josh, the attacks have come not only through this congressional investigation on the EPA report, but also from local press in Wyoming as well. Obviously, there are huge implications nationwide for what the results of this study show.
Well, virtually every Republican candidate right now is out for elimination of the EPA. Which shows the deep, deep influence of oil and gas on Congress and on the Republican Party. So what you're seeing here happening is a war between the federal agency, which is well-funded and impartial in a certain sense, or more impartial, and the state regulatory agencies, which, as we've investigated, and we will show quite thoroughly, I think, in Gasland too, have an enormous amount of influence and pressure on them from oil and gas, to the point to which many, many people think that they're corrupt. So getting the EPA out of the way is one of these ways that you completely dismantle the regulatory system, and that's why the EPA is the target here.
I want to turn to President Obama's recent comments about natural gas drilling. This is what he said just last week in his State of the Union address.
We have a supply of natural gas that can last America nearly 100 years. And my administration will take every possible action to safely develop this energy. The experts believe this will support more than 600,000 jobs by the end of the decade. And I'm requiring all companies that drill for gas on public lands to disclose the chemicals they use, because America will develop this resource without putting the health and safety of our citizens at risk. The development of natural gas will create jobs and power trucks and factories that are cleaner and cheaper, proving that we don't have to choose between our environment and our economy. And by the way, it was public research dollars over the course of 30 years that helped develop the technologies to extract all this natural gas out of shale rock, reminding us that government support is critical in helping businesses get new energy ideas off the ground.
That was President Obama in the State of the Union address. Josh Fox, director of Gasland.